We're seeking freedom at this point.
Freedom at this point. So, you aren't free? Huh. Well, our speaker, who is not free, is Rosa Clemente, a community organizer, independent journalist, and hip-hop activist. She is a graduate of the University of Albany and Cornell University, and is a doctoral student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst in the Afro-American Studies Department. And she was also a vice presidential candidate in 2008, alongside Cynthia McKinney of the Green Party. Oh, and she is also not free. All of those things she's done and accomplished somehow occurred in a vacuum of freedom. Moving on.
We can only seek freedom as people of color because all we're getting is death from this system.
Our speaker looks amazingly well for being a corpse.
Whether it's death row death.
Death row death. So, death brought upon those who have been convicted of capital crimes against society. Now, my thoughts on the death penalty are better left for their own video, but it's difficult to argue that a death row death applies only to people of color or that it is an arbitrary occurrence.
Police killing us.
All shootings by police are always unjustified. No white people are ever killed by police, justified or otherwise. Got it.
Intimidation by the state.
Would you care to elaborate on that? No? Okay.
Detention, deportation, economic injustice. These are all state violence.
Detention and deportation are not violence. They are the consequences resulting from either committing or being suspected of committing a crime, or from being caught residing in this country illegally. As far as economic injustice, again, you're going to have to elaborate, because financial troubles often care less about your skin color than they do your personal fiscal responsibility.
We're so caught up in thinking that the only violence that we, as this movement, are talking about is the most egregious forms.
No, we're not talking about that. You are attempting to equate the consequences of criminal activity and economics with racial violence, which they are not. You are trying to redefine words in order to inflate a victim narrative, that all things are conspiring against people because of their race. And yet, somehow, our speaker has been able to thrive in spite of it all. But how can that be? I mean, she's not white.
The most egregious forms is what exposes the system of white supremacy.
Ah, yes, the system of white supremacy. The white supremacy that elected Barack Obama to the presidency twice. The white supremacy that has made Beyoncé and Jay-Z billionaires. The system of white supremacy that has made the KKK a joke over the past 4 decades and has elevated Black Lives Matter to near sainthood in the media. Yes, the system of white supremacy that our speaker was running to become vice president of. Got it.
It is our job every day to expose everything that is wrong with the system of white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism.
Patriarchy and capitalism. So our speaker is a feminist and a communist. Got it.
The resistance was the Black Power, Brown Power era. The rebellion is Ferguson and Black Lives Matter.
Oh, Ferguson was a rebellion, was it? It wasn't a cataclysmic criminal riot? And Black Lives Matter is also a rebellion, not a violent racial supremacist movement calling for the deaths of police and promoting the genetic inferiority of other races. Got it.
And we're here. And we've survived all this. And the system of white supremacy and capitalism actually does not know what to do with us now.
So, wait a second. First off, who is we? If you, whoever the collective you are, have survived all that's been weighed against you by the systems of white supremacy and capitalism, then those systems are not very effective systems, are they? And if those systems don't know what to do with you now, why are you still alive? Why aren't you in jail? Why haven't you been detained or deported? How were you allowed to go to college? How were you able to run for office? How are you permitted to be standing at that podium, decrying the very systems that are unstoppable, yet somehow surmountable? I'm confused.
So either we're literally enslaved in prison, our movements are restricted, racial surveillance is imposed, institutionalized racism in our institutions, education, politics, economics, entertainment, even our sexuality is institutionalized racism.
Whoa. That was quite the laundry list. So let's back up a little bit.
So either we're literally enslaved.
Who is enslaved literally? Who is enslaved literally in this country? Evidence, please.
In prison.
All black people in prison are there unjustly. All right? Prove it.
Our movements are restricted.
What movement is being restricted? Whose movements are being restricted? Where is this happening and how?
Racial surveillance is imposed.
Racial surveillance. I've never heard that term before. Who is imposing racial surveillance? And where is this happening?
Institutionalized racism in our institutions.
Institutionalized racism in our institutions. Which institutions? Give us the names, please.
Education, politics, economics, entertainment, even our sexuality is institutionalized racism.
Education, politics, economics, entertainment, and sexuality. All right, well, I have a question or two here. How did our speaker graduate and succeed in all of the educational institutions she has if they were all inherently racist? Why would she wish at all to be associated with them? How did our speaker run for vice president, and how did Barack Obama become president if our politics are also inherently racist? How is our speaker not homeless if our economic system is inherently racist? If entertainment is inherently racist, why would our speaker want to be at all associated with the entertainment industry as a hip-hop activist? And why is Chris Rock a millionaire? And then sexuality. I'm not sure what to say here. Sexuality isn't dependent on race, and sexuality isn't an institution. So, how is sexuality racist?
And when that fails to stop us, they kill us. And they kill our young boys and girls.
Who is they? And all of those things apparently failed to stop you. So, again, why are you still alive?
People always ask me, why do you have Alicia at a rally? Alicia's 10 years old, and the state killed Diana Jones, and she was 7. And Tamir Rice was 12. And Michael Brown was 17. And Andy Lopez was 14. And Rakia Boyd was 17. That's why. The state kills 7-year-olds and 12-year-olds.
Yes, the state makes it a point to round up 7-year-olds and 12-year-olds and kill them just for being black. None of the cases our speaker mentioned received any national attention or outcry. They were all shrugged off as just your average cost of doing business in the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Got it.
What a disservice I would be doing if I did not racially socialize my child to understand her role in the movement at 10 years old, because that's where we're at.
Our speaker is racially socializing her child to understand her role in the movement. I would really like our speaker to take a step back and imagine for a moment a man in a white hood, standing on a stage, proclaiming passionately that he is racially socializing his son to understand his role in the movement. I would really like our speaker to imagine that, and then tell me how those same sentiments, coming from her lips, should fill me with any less dread for the future.
The future of this fight right now is going to require a radical militancy, an organization and unity that we have never seen before.
Radical militancy. Our speaker, who decries and redefines violence, is advocating for actual violence. Got it.
We cannot let fear of what we don't know outstrip what we do know. And what we do know is that we have a new generation of unapologetic, in-your-face, fuck the police, the whole damn system is guilty, we are taking our humanity back, get out the way.
Yes, I am sure that that kind of attitude, combined with radical militancy, is not at all a recipe for disaster. Because, after all, violent confrontation and a fuck the police mantra has always led to good things.
And we're talking about August 9th, right around the corner. 365 days of sustained protests in every corner of this country.
August 9th. But this video was posted by APB just today. I wonder what she means.
We're talking about a group of young people that when they went to show their grief, were met with military tanks and military might in their own neighborhoods, and they stood up strong those weeks.
Oh, so the Ferguson riots of 2014 were an expression of grief? They were an example of people standing strong, looting and burning down their own neighborhood, pharmacies and pizza places and nail salons. Wow, such strength, such courage.
A lot of us knew that this post-911 world would turn weapons on the, militarize these police and eventually turn on their own citizens. Right?
Right?
So as we move forward, and many of us too get caught up in thinking that just because we may be a majority in numbers, and people want to use that as their own electoral-political gain, we could very well be the majority and live in a South Africa apartheid-like state.
What? Who is the majority? Could live in an apartheid-like state? What?
And that's where it's heading, y'all. You think Ferguson and Baltimore are not about social control?
The Ferguson and Baltimore riots? No, I don't think those were about social control. They were societal chaos. Or do you mean the events used as excuses for those riots? Michael Brown and Freddie Gray? Well, Michael Brown attacked a police officer and was shot in self-defense. And none of the officers associated with the death of Freddie Gray, half of whom were black, by the way, could be found guilty of anything after 3 different trials led to acquittals.
You think as they're not closing down prisons, they're not opening them up for immigrant detention?
I don't know what to think. Was that a statement of fact or a flight of fancy? Why don't you give us an example?
This is what's happening. This is what's happening.
Is that an incantation? If you had said it a 3rd time, would it have made it really, really real?
Black Lives Matter. Unapologetic, unafraid, unbossed, unbought. We will not compromise. We will not make this palatable. We will not bend, and we will no longer be passive to a system that seeks reform. We are seeking complete transformation of this system, and nothing less is acceptable.
All right, so remember earlier when our speaker mentioned an upcoming event on August 9th? Well, she was talking about a planned round of protests to mark the anniversary of the Michael Brown shooting in Ferguson. But not the 2017 anniversary, and not the 2016 anniversary. No, she was talking about the 2015 anniversary. Because while this video excerpt was posted by the American Program Bureau just today, would you believe that this speech actually took place over 2 years ago? On April 27th, 2015. So, tell me, if I hadn't told you that the rhetoric and assertions in this speech were over 2 years stale, would you have been able to distinguish it from anything that is professed today by Black Lives Matter? Because it begs the question, what has Black Lives Matter done to improve race relations in this country? What gallant, radical, militant actions have they taken to change the system in a positive way? No, really, I am honestly asking for an answer, because in over 2 years of Black Lives Matter activism since this speech was given, and with its members having been nearly deified in the media and in politics, have the accusations changed? Have the buzzwords at all altered? Doesn't seem like it to me. And is that because the alleged problems have not been solved? Or is it because that the narrative is more important than the goal, more important than reality or reason? Or maybe it just still makes for a good story, even after all of this time. Because so long as you keep saying that there is a disease, well-meaning people will continue scrambling, trying to cure it for you. As always, thank you for watching.